Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are in my garage right now because, well, the kids wouldn't let me have like 5 minutes to myself today. If you're like me and you have a spouse that is working from home and then you also work from home and then you have kids who are doing virtual learning, in other words, online school from home, you know that finding spaces to kind of collect your thoughts or be in a quiet area is very, very hard, and that's kind of what we're dealing with today. My kids are currently in their bedrooms doing their classwork, and John is in a meeting in the basement in the office, so I'm out in the garage to do this video, which is honestly fine because we're here to talk about our DIY sectional that we built at the beginning of the summer. So while I have escaped the loudness of my children, I have not escaped my dogs. They're in the backyard, so if you hear some barking, I apologize. And my chair, I just realized, is a little bit squeaky in here, so I will try to sit as still as possible so you're not distracted. A lot of you guys have been asking for this video. I apologize that it's taken so long. We did an Anna White build, which kind of spurred my interest into woodworking and building stuff and learning more about tools and, you know, just all around working with my hands in the garage. And it was the sectional and also coffee table. Anna White is very, very popular. She's got a website of a ton of free plans, which is just awesome. As you guys know, we worked really hard this summer on our backyard. We live in Ohio, so in the Midwest, spring, summer, and fall are basically, at least for my family, all outdoors for us. We are, if it's not raining, and even sometimes when it's raining, we will hang outside, we will do our thing, it's just like another aspect of our house. We have a very modest sized house for 5 people and 2 dogs, especially right now. So our outside, our backyard is just a space that we utilize daily. This summer we did a bunch of different additions. As you guys know, if you follow me, we did our above ground pool that's now permanent. We had one that we tore down every summer, but it was just getting to be not only a little bit cumbersome to store it and pull it down and put it back up every year, but it was also wasteful for water. And then we'd have like this huge mud pit that the dogs would just like run through during the spring and the winter, and it was just really frustrating. So because of COVID and we were at home stuck here and we needed an outlet for our kids, we decided to go forward and do the above ground. So we did that. We did some landscaping. By some, I mean a ton. If you saw those videos, oh my gosh, I was struggling to grow grass in the middle of summer here. Oh, I'm very thankful to say that the grass has grown. It is wonderful. The dogs are enjoying it. The family's enjoying it. It looks nice for what I could do. We did a bunch of rock landscaping. We did a deck for the pool as well. That was something that was not necessarily planned. It was kind of last minute because I realized that I couldn't really see the kids if I wasn't in the pool. So it felt like we needed to kind of push that along. And then we extended our patio, which I know this is a long roundabout way of coming to why we did the DIY sectional, but we did our patio, we extended it by quite a bit to utilize more of the areas that were usually muddy and gross and stuff by the house. So yeah, because we extended our patio so much, we needed more seating. At the end of spring, when COVID was starting to, you know, come up, we did go and buy some furniture from Walmart, but that furniture was pretty small, and honestly, it's nice for what it is, but it's not the best or most comfortable, and you know, who knows how long it's gonna last. Because we extended our patio so much, we needed actually more seating. So that's what brought me to looking up how to just build my own. So I found Anna White's plans. It's like the first thing that pops up when you like search DIY outdoor sectionals. I don't know why. She's got some great algorithms and keywords going on. Whoever's working on her online like campaigns and algorithms just spot on, because it was literally like flooded Anna White stuff. That was the first plan that popped up. It seemed pretty affordable and it seemed pretty easy to do, and so I've been talking forever about everything but the sectional, but let's just go ahead and just get down to the nitty-gritty because I know that's what you guys are here for. So first and foremost, I'm gonna go ahead and just address what everybody has been asking me, which is where did I get my cushions from and were they affordable? Because really the build itself is very, very affordable compared to everything else. The expensive part is the cushions. I had 2 sets of cushions. You guys are gonna see different pictures pop up and footage of the summer and the build and all of that. The first set of cushions I ordered from Overstock. Let me just preface this with I will never order from Overstock ever again. Their customer service is horrible. Their quality of products are horrible. I will never order from them again. It was such a headache. So I found a teal set that I'm really sad because it looked really, really nice and vibrant on our patio and it matched our doors. But I found a teal set and they looked really nice. They fit perfectly when it came to putting them in the sectional. But after one time of sitting on them, they were smushed so far down that they didn't pop back up. They were just a horrible quality. The fabric itself stained really easily. So I returned those after a long drawn out just fight with Overstock because they were not described as said on website, and just again they were horrible, and I had only had them for one day, and then I had to fight with them with shipping, and it was just never again. Just save your time and money and don't go there. The second set I got actually was in a more neutral tone. They're beige. I really love them. I got them from Target. I believe they're called the Ralston edition. I will leave all the information right here in regards to names because I won't be able to remember everything. They are amazing. They fit beautifully on the sectional. They fit perfectly depth-wise and width-wise. There is a corner of our sectional where it meets that because width-wise it's a little bit off. I just kind of pull that corner cushion forward because the back cushions cover it, and then everything just looks completely seamless. So I did have to do that for one pillow, but everything else fits perfectly. They're really good quality. They wipe off pretty easily if you need to clean them. They're firm, so that means that they're gonna last. They're not just gonna get smushed down and just be a hot mess. They're comfortable. They're all around really good quality. Did I mention that I got them from Target? I'm trying to keep everything up here and then also say it in a good order, and it's not working. I got those from Target. They were twice as much as the ones from Overstock. I did end up spending, let me see. I did end up spending basically $500 on the cushions, which I know to a lot of you, you're sticker shock, but they are definitely worth it. If you're gonna skimp somewhere, we skimped on the type of wood we use, which I'll get into that in a minute. Don't skimp on the cushions because that's what you're sitting on. Even though they were twice as much as the crappy ones from Overstock, these are gonna last me for years if I take care of them, which we do. We pull them in every single night. You guys saw my organization on Instagram. I'll post some footage here. We keep all of our cushions indoors every single night because it's not worth animals pooping on them. It's not worth, mice making them their little sleeping bags outside. It's not worth them getting weathered. We take care of our cushions so that they last longer. Now, while we're on the subject of cushions, one thing that I did not realize when I ordered everything originally was that even though you have 3 cushions going this way and 3 cushions going that way, you think, okay, I only need 6 sets. You actually need 7. So because it's the sectional, you have 3 cushions this way, 3 cushions this way, but then the back cushions, you actually have 4 going one way because one butts up to the other. So it was actually not too bad to have to order 7 sets because now we have an extra base butt pad cushion to kind of alternate in and out, so that way if something happened to one, we have an extra one. All right, moving on to the actual build. So we used pine, just, building lumber because we were trying to keep the cost down, and I knew already in advance that the cushions were gonna be where I spent the bulk of my money. Now, pine is fine. You can use pine. It is a soft wood, so it does get dented easily. It's not perfect, especially if you're, going to just Home Depot or Lowe's. The quality isn't always great. Luckily, our Home Depot has really good quality of wood. I've used it for all of my builds, so we've been really lucky in that aspect, but I know in some areas it's not that nice. When you're looking for your wood, you of course want to just make sure there's not a lot of cracks, not a lot of knots, unless that's something you like the look of, which I like a little bit of knottiness in my wood, not a ton, and you just want to make sure your wood's not warped, because the straighter the wood, the easier everything's going to be, and the more exact your levels and everything will be. Other woods you can use that are more costly would be treated pine. Our next door neighbors actually built the sectional after we did ours. They spent, I believe, 2.5 times more on wood than we did though. Also with treated, and the reason why we didn't go with the treated route, not just because we didn't want to pay the extra, but also because when you're sitting down or touching things, You know, treated lumber is better now. They don't use arsenic in it. You know, so it's not as toxic, but it's still not the greatest to have sitting on your skin and rubbing up against you. Also with treated lumber, if it's outside, you have to make sure that it dries out before you stain it or do anything like that. When we were building our build, I wanted to make sure to be able to paint it whatever color or stain it whatever color I wanted right off the get-go. So, you know, there are a few reasons why we picked untreated pine, and those were just a couple of them. Mostly it was price though. Another wood you can use is cedar. Cedar is, I believe, it won't mold, you won't have as much like decay, it's very weather resistant without even needing to be sealed. I know a lot of people who did cedar who, like I have friends who after I did my post were like, hey, I want to do that, how hard was it? I have two that use cedar themselves, but they said it was pretty pricey. They actually painted theirs on top of it, so theirs should last them a long time. They have plans to have theirs last forever. I'm kind of in the mindset of if, you know, in 2-3 years we have to replace the pine frame, you know, maybe then when we have the money we'll do like a nicer cedar wood or a hardwood. But for now, again, for us, we'd already spent all this money on everything else in our backyard. This was just something to get us through the next couple of years. And then there are a bunch of other types of wood you can use, but for us, those are not accessible in our local area. For screws, we just used 3-inch deckmate screws. We had a ton of them left over from our deck build, so they're just really nice because they're not gonna rust. They're meant to be used outdoors and they're really strong at holding stuff together. And then for stain, I cannot for the life of me remember what brand we used, but I know I only spent about $36 on the stain and it was an all-in-one. It was a color and it was a sealant, so I didn't have to do 2 different steps. I did not prime my wood. The guy at Home Depot was really pushing me to condition my wood, but both me and our friend who was helping us felt like it was done well, like the wood was just sanded, it was brand new wood, it wasn't sitting out anywhere, like it was in good shape, that we didn't really feel like we needed to do any conditioning of the wood. I feel like conditioning is used more for like wood that's been sitting out for a little bit. We got our wood and I believe we started almost immediately. Even though it was raining out, we like covered and were under tents during the summer, like building this because we were just trying to get it done in the weekend that our friend was out, and also we wanted to just get it done so we could enjoy it for the rest of the season. So if you don't have your lumber sitting out, I mean, I don't know. I skipped that step and it was perfectly fine. Just sanding it really well and then using the stain that I did that also had the water sealer in it. I opted for a darker color. Home Depot can actually tint your sealer, so I just had them tint mine a little bit darker brown because we do have black furniture and then we have black accents all around our house, but they didn't have like a black that I liked, so I went with like a dark brown that I felt was kind of complementing to it. In regards to stuff that we did differently from the build, so I did write a few notes. It's been a month since we made this build, and again, this video is all over the place. I'm using this video not as a DIY because you should go to Anna White and look at her stuff. I'm using this video as more of an informational, if it was worth it for us, and the kind of the pitfalls and the things that we came up against while we were doing it. Things that we did differently from the plan though were that we did pocket screws, pocket holes in the back of our sectional. Called for different types of holes from the back for the supports coming in, and I wanted those to look a little bit cleaner because you were gonna be able to see the back from either our pool deck or from the pool or from our neighbor's house. So I wanted it to look clean in the back, so we did do pocket holes and screws in the back and not just what she called for. They are harder to stain when you do pocket holes because you're dealing with a longer hole that you can't necessarily sand, so you really have to make sure to get your stain in there. You want to make sure to stain really well and seal really well around your holes because that's where moisture will collect, and then you don't want any like internal rotting of the wood. So just keep that in mind for how many pocket holes you do around your sectional or anything outdoors. We added a second back rail and side rail. Anna White's plans don't call for an extra railing in the middle or on the sides or on the back. I wanted those because I didn't want pillows to fall out the sides or the back. Our neighbors did not do that, and I haven't really talked to them about how they like theirs or if they have that issue, but I think it looks nice either way is what I'm trying to get at. Theirs looks really nice without the middle rail, but I think ours looks really nice with the middle rail. So it just depends on what, you know, kind of cushions you're using or what you want to come up against. I really like the fact that we did the middle one because I do have these accent pillows that kind of add as extra padding and they don't fall at all through the sides. One thing I noticed about her plans, where there's an option underneath all of her plans to like point out any mistakes she's made in the plan, she was missing one of the cuts. We noticed as we were doing things, she was missing about, it was like a 28-inch-ish cut for one of the railings. It wasn't in her plan. So just be aware that there is an extra cut. She may have changed by now. I haven't looked back on it, but there's an extra cut that was not listed in the directions or the cut list. Overall, building this project, it was pretty easy. Again, it was all 2x4s, so you didn't really have to deal with like figuring out which wood was supposed to go where. You know, as I've been doing a bunch more builds on my own, when you're talking about using different size woods, it is a lot more easier just dealing with one size of wood throughout a whole project. The sectional and the table and our solo stove platform, which we made, were super simple to make. I mean, everything was just very cut and dry. We didn't need a whole bunch of different types of tools, which was really nice. We basically just used our miter saw, you know, impact, drill, and then levels, pencils, square. You know, it didn't really need a bunch of fancy stuff. You didn't need a table saw or anything like that. So that was really nice. So this is a very beginner friendly project. If you don't have those tools on hand, go ask your neighbor, go ask your dad, go ask a family member or a friend. I bet you money one of them will have what you need. Our neighbors actually used our miter saw a few times because we had ours out while they were building their thing. And so, you know, it's just go ask somebody. Don't necessarily need to go out and buy stuff. I mean, we do, but that's just because we're crazy and we build a lot of things lately, but you don't need to do that. It's a very beginner friendly plan. We knocked it out in a couple hours, again, in the pouring down rain at sometimes. The next day's worth of work though, sanding it and finishing it, I've said this before in my posts and in my video, it's the hardest thing. Like woodworkers, like true woodworkers, I have so much respect for because sanding, shaping, finishing, sealing, staining, all that stuff is just not only takes a lot of patience and is time consuming, but it is annoying as hell. We sanded ours. Luckily we had, I believe, 2 or 3 sanders going at once. Our friend brought his and then I had mine. We just used DeWalt sanders. I bought mine literally because Alex just like suggested it. He was like, I really like this one. It's corded, but it's like feels good ergonomically and it works well. And sure enough, like I really do like the DeWalt sander. We had like multiple sanders going and still it took a couple hours. And then we had multiple people staining and finishing. And again, it still took multiple hours. So I will say that the most time consuming part of this whole project was the staining and sanding, but don't skimp on it. Do as many coats as your label says and make sure to sand really well because that is really what's going to protect your project and your money that you just put into it for the next, you know, seasons or few years. I am also going to probably buy a cover just to kind of smush the sectionals together and cover them this winter so it keeps the snow off of them. Obviously it's not going to protect them from everything, but you know, again, I just want to try to keep them as nice as possible for the next couple of years. And then next year come spring, I will probably restain or refinish it again. So far, they've held up really, really well. Like I've said, we've had a ton of rain. We've had a ton of hot sun beating down on them. They still look really, really great. I have no complaints. They're very sturdy. Again, we did do the coffee table and we did a little rolling platform for our solo stove, which I'll leave a link underneath this video if you want to get a solo stove. It's an affiliate link. Hey-oh. You know, since I can't get sponsors from Home Depot or Lowe's or Milwaukee Tools or Ryobi, I gotta like put something somewhere. But I love my solo stove. This is the second one we've had, and I say second because they have a lifetime warranty on their products. So our other one was the older model and it started having issues on the grill plate and they sent us a brand new one of the newer model. They're awesome. They're a little bit pricey, but I will never use a different fire pit. They're smokeless, they look nice, and oh my gosh, I can go on and on about solo stoves. But we did make a little rolling platform because it is kind of a weird shape and I was tired of like lifting it up to move it. So I asked John and my friend if we could just like make a platform and if that would be safe. The heat stays up top and on the sides. It doesn't really sit at the bottom. So it just sits on this platform. Obviously there's a little metal stand ring, but it sits on the platform. We have it secured in with 2 blocks and it's It looks like almost a rolling planter stand on steroids. And then we used industrial casters on the bottom, which was the priciest part of that, but now we can leave it outside with its weatherproof cover, and we just roll it around the patio wherever we need it or wherever we want to store it. We did the stand for that, we did the coffee table, we did our section all with the wood that we purchased. Again, we did purchase 2 extra 8-footers because we wanted to do extra rails. Keep that in mind. I think I have all those numbers in here too, which I will now give you guys also with the price overview. Let's talk about cost. The stain was $36. The wood and the screws all together, which like I said, covered our rolling stand, coffee table, and the sectional with the extra rails that we put in, was $163. We converted all of our lumber from 10 foot, which is what Anna White's plan says, to 8 foot, so that way we could fit it nicely into our car. So because we converted her 10 footers to 8 footers, we got 34 2x4s, 8 feet long. The 4 wheels we bought for the platform for our solo stove, which this doesn't need to, you don't need to think about this if you don't want to, but they were $6.95 each. They were expensive for wheels, but it's totally worth it. We spent like twice as much for the wheels underneath these workbenches that we custom made a couple weeks ago, and again, like, don't skimp on the wheels, man. They're worth it. Bought 2 paintbrushes, which were $6. I bought my orbital sander for $69. If you already have an orbital sander or you're borrowing one, then just do that. But I wanted a sander for future projects. The cushions, like I said, were about $500 roughly. So all in all, for the wood, for the screws, for the paintbrushes, for the stain, and for the cushions, it was $705. That again is not including the casters that we put on the solo stove bench, and that's not including my sander. But again, the sander is something that I wanted and I'm still using for other builds, and so that was something that I wanted to purchase. Again, you don't have to. Now, I will just say that for me, this was a completely worthwhile project, both price and just the quality, and honestly the experience in building it. It was also just a lot of fun to spend that time doing it with my husband and our friend. I think it looks really nice. It's custom to what size we wanted it and how we wanted it and where we wanted it, because you can flip the sectional around if you want it left facing or right facing. It's the colors we wanted. It's the cushions we wanted. For us, it was totally worth it. Like I said, the sectionals of that capacity and size that we were looking at that probably would have broke or, you know, weathered horribly, or I would have had some issue with, were upwards in like $2,500. They're not cheap. And again, you know, this build, our cushions was where we spent our most money, and if we need to rebuild that frame, it's still only going to be $163. So I don't think, again, we'll have to do that for a long while, but it's just for what we needed it for and what we'll use it for the next couple years. It was totally worth the money, totally worth the time, and totally worth the energy. So yeah, that was a very long roundabout way of talking about all of this, but I just wanted to go over every aspect of the build because it is a big project, especially for people who are in their starter homes, younger couples. You know, what I've noticed with a lot of stuff that I've done in our backyard and just our house in general, you guys know we've remodeled I would say 90% of our entire house in the last 5 years ourselves. I will say that, like, you kind of tend to see stuff on Instagram or on YouTube and you're like, I can do that. They said it's affordable, blah, 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 blah. And then you start hitting all of these road bumps of cushions that are crappy, you know, material, or tools that you don't have, or just things that you don't realize of why it's affordable for certain people. Like maybe they're getting free cushions from a company, or maybe they already have a whole workshop of tools because that's what they do for a living, or, you know, whatever the reason. I just wanted to go over every single detail so that you don't get over your head in doing a build like this, because it can get pricey. Not all DIY stuff ends up being affordable. Trust me, I know, but for us in this case, this sectional was worth the money and time for us to do, and it did save us money. But that is, again, not true of everything we've done. There you have it. If you're looking to build a custom DIY sectional, if you're looking to build Anna White's DIY sectional, that is all of the information that I can give you from how we built it and the things we experienced while building it. I hope this was helpful. If not, I'm sorry. If you want to hear more about the builds that I do or these kinds of videos, I really want to start making this into a common theme on this channel. I am going to come out with a video of kind of like my starter tools, things that, like, you know, I've done quite a few builds in the last 6 months that I can kind of tell you what tools I needed for those things and are worthwhile in purchasing versus what's kind of for show or you don't really need that. So let me know if you guys want to see something like that. That is something that I want to do. And yeah, thank you for watching. If this was helpful, please let me know. It makes me feel better knowing that I'm not just talking and sitting in a garage babbling to a camera for nothing. Thank you, Anna White, for making building become a passion of mine and showing me that I can do it and I am capable of doing it. As you know, I've built so many things from her plans, and now I'm delving into like creating my own plans and figuring out stuff myself, which is really cool. And thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I really appreciate it, and I hope my videos are helpful, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye.